Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, just a quick 1-minute announcement to let you know about my virtual courses and free masterclasses. I have courses and free masterclasses based on both of my books. I have the Ultimate Thyroid Course. This is your answer to solving any thyroid issue, whether it be Hashimoto's, radioactive iodine, thyroidectomy after thyroid cancer, or just general hypothyroidism. Reverse T3 issues as well. It's an incredible value at 17 modules and 29 hours of content with amazing guest expert tutorials. I also offer the Ultimate Confidence Course. That is 15 modules and 14 hours with also a few guest expert tutorials. An incredible value, and I have free masterclasses on both of those topics as well. Visit elleruss.com to learn more. Les Brown, it is an honor to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. It's always a treat when great people meet. Come on, somebody.
So, Les, you are really the perfect example of perseverance, tenacity, the power of positive thinking. But for those that may not know your story, I just want you to touch back on the beginnings where you got a major hit to your confidence and self-esteem at a very early age in elementary school. And I believe they called you educable, mentally retarded or something, which, my gosh, what a label to get. Will you tell us about sort of that? And then, of course, we'll talk about how you moved out of that through your life and accomplished great things.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be interviewed by you. You've been doing some great work. I call it the greater work, because now more than ever, the voice that you have, the show that you have that showcase people bringing messages and stories that can inspire people is needed now more than any other time that I've ever seen in the history of our country. And so congratulations to you, and continue to do the great work that you're doing. You're changing lives of people that you don't even know and will perhaps never meet. When I look at my life, born in an abandoned building on a floor, poor section of Miami, Florida, called Liberty City, with a twin brother. And here I am, 77, and just saw a picture for the first time of my birth mother and father. I said, oh my God. I mean, life has so many surprises for you. And then we were foster kids, and then we were in elementary school together, and I was called DT, the dumb twin, and they put me back for the 5th grade to the 4th grade and labeled me educable, mentally retarded. And then I fell again in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School in Overtown in Miami. But I had a high school teacher who had a caring heart like you. His name was Leroy Washington. And he challenged me one day to work on a problem. And I told him I couldn't do it. I was in his class looking for a friend of mine. He said, do what I'm asking you to do. And I said, I can't, sir. And he said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, do it anyhow. And I said, I can't. And the other kids, they started laughing. They said, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? He's the dumb twin. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And that was a major defining moment for me. And he didn't know it, but I adopted him as my spiritual father. I followed him around. I was never mainstream. I was in special education all through high school, but I admired his attitude, which was very positive, his spirit of optimism, and his style of communication. He taught speech and drama. And one of the things he taught me, he said, Mr. Brown, develop your mind. He said, people don't live life as it is, they live life as they are. And he said, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, the world will begin to define you and judge you based upon how you communicate. And something else he said that was very important. He said, watch your relationships, practice OQP. And I asked him, what does that mean, sir? He said, only quality people. He said, people rub off on you. and more people follow the herd. I'm encouraging you to follow your heart. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. And that advice he gave me, very beneficial. And I still live by those principles today, developing your mind, your communication skills, and upgrading your relationships.
I'm not sure who said the following, but they said, when you follow the herd, you step in poop. So I love that he told you not to follow the herd. In what way did you develop your mind that led you to decide to become something greater or go beyond being a sanitation worker? Because you have just an amazing resume of achievements from then on out. I mean, you were a state representative of Ohio, you served in politics, you've, spoke to billions around the world by this point, all of these wonderful best-selling books. Did you just keep educating yourself and one day said, hey, I'm destined to do better? What was the moment that you thought, I don't want to do this sanitation, I don't want to be in this job anymore. I want to do something different?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because just keep in mind, I'm 77 and I came up in a culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self, to deny you, demonize you, and prevent you from living your dreams, to live your fears. I mean, here we are in 2022, and they have a request before the Supreme Court to determine if people who look like me, should we have the right to vote? In the United States of America, the leading democracy, so to speak.
You must feel like we're going backwards. That must be very strange for you, having lived the 77 years, to see this. It's obviously astounding and horrific for us to see, but that must just be something I don't know. That's mind-boggling.
Well, it most certainly is mind-boggling. But, I wrote the book called You Gotta Be Hungry.
That's right.
Yeah, the greatness within the win. And we have to be hungry to overcome the systems and the various barriers that are put in place that will prevent the average person from advancing toward living their dream. And when I think about one of the things that he said, develop your mind. And I started reading and listening to motivational messages. Zig Ziglar, he said, if you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. Jim Rohn, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. Robert Schuller, you must be a possibility thinker. You either expand or you are expendable. And so I saturated my mind with these messengers of hope, with this hope in the future that gives you power in the present. I listened to Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret in the World. We become what we think about. And I encourage people even now more than ever, because this is a new place where we are. Einstein said the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. A lot of people are falling through the cracks right now. And Bob Proctor said, you're born rich, but the reason that most people are living a life of mediocrity is because they're ignorant. He said, they don't know what they don't know, and they think they know. And so we're where Peter Drucker, he said, we must be willing to unlearn, learn, and relearn. This is the place where we are. So when you look at how we've been disrupted with the pandemic, where we are now, and people are rethinking their lives. People who were told you can work from home, and then they said, come on back. And they said, no.
Nope.
I'm betting on me.
I love it.
Yes, I want to take my life in a different direction. They made a decision. We make decisions, and now decisions, as you know, make us. And so this is a new space where we are. And what I've done is what people are doing right now. Is I looked at my life and I said, this is not enough. I know if I had my life to live over again, I could have done more than what I've done thus far. And part of the reason why I'm still pushing, I still feel that there is more in me. Miles Monroe, who was a great orator and from the Bahamas, and Miles said, live full and die empty. So my goal is to help people to rob the cemetery of their genius, of their leadership, of their voice and their stories, and the reason that they were chosen and preserved for such a time as this.
What was your, from going from that, hey, I want a better life. There's more to my life than this job, than what I'm doing. What was the first sort of success or the realization of, oh my gosh, this is actually working. What everyone told me and all the things I've read is working. What were those moments like, if you remember, or the time in life when that happened?
A defining moment for me was not when things were working. The defining moment for me was I've had it. I've had it living the life that I'm living. What I'm doing now will not allow me to take care of my mother. I made a commitment. I often open my presentations by saying, all that I am and all that I've hoped to be, I owe to my mother. A quote
Same
by
here. Yep.
Abraham Lincoln. And I told my mother I was going to take care of her, that no matter what I was doing and where I was going to provide for her. And Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you could endure almost anyhow. So I made a commitment that I was going to be there for my mother. I made a commitment that at any time, if she needed me, whatever I was doing, that would become the focus of my life, of taking care of her. And that when I turned 18, that she will never have to work again. And so when you find a reason for your life, it narrows your choices. You don't burn the bridge, you blow the bridge up. And I set out and said, this is how I'm going to do it. Telling my story, creating an experience with my story to transform an audience individually and collectively, and let them know that your dream is possible. And if people go on YouTube, they can see Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome, where I'm speaking to 80,000 people. And the reason that I was able to go there and to be selected to do that, Dexter Yeager, who selected me and did not like me, but he said, when I spoke, he felt me in his heart. He said, when I spoke, he said, I listened to you, and your words, they haunted me and they challenged me to raise the bar in myself. And so I said, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And Viktor Frankl said that when you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. People talk to me about, boy, all the things you've gone through. And here you are, 77, you're a 29-year fourth stage cancer conqueror, recognized by the American Cancer Association and Cancer Centers of America. How do you keep going? And I said, I made a commitment to my mother. I was going to make her proud that she adopted us, that she first took us in as foster kids, and that she did not make a mistake by doing that. And to further her legacy, how I live my life and the standards that I hold myself to and my children. And I'm a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. And so those are the reasons that I look at that keep me going, that inspire me, that I don't need an alarm clock to get up in the morning. My reason wakes me up.
I love it. Well, you and so many other authors I've had the pleasure and honor of interviewing so many years ago when I started my journey like you did, which is, this is something better in life. There's something more to this. I went and sought out. And by the way, for everyone listening, 99% of the books that Les mentioned, they are free at this point, available on YouTube. All the Earl Nightingales and all those books are free. So you don't even have to pay to get this information now, with podcasts, watching interviews and motivational speeches by you. But a lot of people, they've got the job, the kids, the busy, and they cannot see a way in which money or some new opportunity would come. But you and I both know that when you're focusing on faith, even if it's not religious faith, just faith in the unknown, faith in this co-creation, that opportunities start to kind of show up and roll in. Can you for people that are out there that are maybe like, maybe not for me, or how does just belief in positive thinking draw something to me? I don't see a way. I'm working 2 jobs. I got this. I don't even have time to think about that kind of attitude. What is it, in your opinion, about that, about faith, moving forward with positive attitude, that you feel brings it in? And can you share an experience back then, maybe one of your first, where you were like, oh, wow, things are showing up for me, sort of out of the unknown, these unknown possibilities?
Well, first of all, possibility thinking and positive thinking can take you so far. And the reason I say that our minds are conditioned by our culture. We were born to win, as Bob Proctor would say, but we have been programmed to fail. And so my favorite book says, as a man thinketh in his heart, where your heart is, there your treasure is also. There are things that we know in our heart that the mind cannot conceive of, because we've been programmed to be logical, practical, and realistic. I'm not supposed to, based upon the standards of the world, be able to earn more in 1 hour than 90% of the American public earn working for a whole year. And so, but when you live from your heart and you listen to your heart and you hear the calling of what you're supposed to do, a job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you are made for. You do this program because you have the what I call the can't helps it. You can't help it. You got to do it. It's a calling on your life, and you won't put the button. You won't push that button of hold it. I can't deal with you right now. You said, I have got to do this. I can't help it. I've got to do it. And so when you find something that you're calling, you love it so much that you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. And so people that are listening now, it's very important for them to find their why and the purpose of their lives, because it narrows what you look at and what you focus on and how you use your energy. This is called the distraction economy. The biggest challenge that I think that people are facing is distractions. They spend more time looking at their problems and the problems of other people, as opposed to living out of their imagination, step away from their history, and begin to hold a vision of what it is that they want to create. My favorite book says, I'll give you all your eyes can see. Tenaciously hold a vision, see it already complete. Affirm to yourself, I give thanks that I have achieved my goal of making cancer history in my life. That's something I affirm every day. It's been 29 years. And they say, well, when is it going to happen? I don't know. When will a baby walk? It will walk when it walks, and some walk sooner than others. So I'm calling forth those things that be not as though they were. And so the people that are listening now, with all the algorithms and communication styles and systems that are designed to distract us, we got to unplug from the world and take some time to reflect on our lives and ask the question, who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? And who's going with me? And once we can get some clarity on that, you put together a ritual and a game plan that moves your life in that direction.
I love that. You know, one of the things in my work with my first book regarding health, we talk about ancestral health principles, and we look at, you know, sort of the lives of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And one of the things I wish we would get a little bit back to, now, granted, there was no human rights back then. We don't want to go back to caveman days. But one of the things that when we look at how they saw life, and maybe people should adopt this more, is that failure is only feedback. To the hunter-gatherer ancestor, they didn't have the modern luxury of wallowing self-pity. They had to move onward and upward, right? If they didn't catch the beast, they didn't sit around and cry and ask their friends, should I hunt anymore? I think I'm really bad at it, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Because you've been through so many challenges in your life, right? There's a lot of people, you're on a good train and then you get a hit, or you're an entrepreneur and you have a failure, and people want to just give up when they should look at failure as feedback? I'd love to hear your thoughts and personal experiences with that notion.
Continue to focus on your dream and do what Og Mandino said. He said, I will persist until I succeed. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. I will persist until I succeed. When you think about that, the system is set up to make the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You look at the Orange Man, all the laws that he has broken. And if that had happened to the average person, they'd have been in jail and the key would have been thrown away. So the system is not fair. What you have to do, in spite of that, is find a way to win. Calvin Coolidge said, nothing can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. The world is full of unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. He said, persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. And that's what people have to do.
Out of all of you've had so many challenges you even described, moving through the cancer situation, you've had other issues in your life. What's a challenge or a setback, even if it was in business, even during some of your successes, that was a positive setback, something that seemingly was yucky, but became a blessing? Because I know in my life, the things that most people would consider, or at the time I considered the worst things, later became a gift. So now when something seemingly negative happens, I look up and I go, oh, I know this is going to be good. Like this is going to be really good because this didn't happen for nothing. What are some thoughts on that, or some personal experiences with setbacks where they were one of your greatest teachers?
Listen, you have the right perspective. I believe there's a quote that I love, says, in life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. You're asking me this question. When I became a motivational speaker, what moved me to go in this direction, I had a youth program in Miami, Florida. And I went back to take care of my adopted mother, and it was very successful. And so some of the people who had youth programs said, oh my God, this guy who just came back to town and kids are just lining up to get in his program, that we're going to lose funding for our program. So they went to, and they had a relationship with it, then State Attorney General Janet Reno, and asked her to conduct an investigation of my program. Janet told me this herself. She since passed from Parkinson's. And it took 11 months, and I was exonerated. I went down to her office every day on the 6th floor with a sign that said, indict me or set me free. You got something on me, use it to the full extent of the law. Otherwise, get the hell off my back. Mm-hmm. And so finally, I was exonerated that I used my own money to train the kids who the city did not give me money to train them. And then the city voted to give me another contract. And I asked my mentor, Mike Williams, he wrote the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff, The Road to Your Best Stuff, Mike Williams. And I said, do we need this? He said, no. I went up before the Miami City Commission. I said, thank you so much for your vote of confidence. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to use the things that I was teaching the children. I teach them they should not just be good messengers, but they should be the message. And the things that I was teaching them, I'm going to use those principles. And I'm going to give myself 5 years to earn $1 million. And I'm going to come back and I will train children with my own money. I don't want political money. I earned my first $1 million in 3 years. And it was so good, I kept going.
That must have been an amazing feeling.
Yes. And so had I not been investigated by Janet Reno, which they announced the investigation of the first page of the Miami Herald, and then on page 26 on a Saturday, that they announced the investigation on a Sunday, the largest publication, Saturday, page 26 on Saturday, the lowest publication, okay? It said he is innocent, he did nothing wrong. Had they not done that to me, I would not be here today. I would not be. They did an organic Google search, and over 2.2 billion people have gone online to hear my voice, and over 500 motivational compilations have my voice on there. Had that not happened, they meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Whatever happens to you, look for the good. All things work together for good for those who love God and called according to his purpose. Every day won't be a good day, but there's some good in every day.
I love that. Of all of your speaking opportunities around the world over all of these years, what's a highlight for you, whether it was meeting and learning about a different culture, or whether it was just a connection you had, or just an experience? You know, what comes to mind as one of your favorites? Because you've spoken so much all over the world, and I'm just wondering if something stands out as a highlight to you that affected your life.
Absolutely. I spoke in the Georgia Dome to over 80,000 people. It's still there. Millions of people have viewed it. They say Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome, which no longer exists. I did that speech. I was frightened out of my mind. I've never watched more than 5 minutes of it. And I don't remember giving this speech, but there are people that I meet who tell me various things from this speech that impacted them. People said, hey, when I saw that, that stopped me from taking my life. It's not over till you win. Hey, man, when I saw that, I was in a dark place and your voice brought me out. So that's my favorite, even though I was so afraid I couldn't remember. I've been trying to pull it up. I can't remember standing on the stage. All I remember when they opened the curtain and my mentor gave me the mic and he said, Les, you got this. It's very important to have somebody in your life that believe in you until you get the courage to believe in yourself. And I asked him, I said, do you think I can do it, Mike? Do you think I can do this? He said, yes, you got this, man. You're Mamie's boy. Make your mother proud. And I said, thank you. And I went out and spoke, but I don't remember anything else. It's crazy. And I'm too nervous and critical of myself to watch it.
After all those years, I love it. You know, when you mentioned earlier, touching on, you know, the people you surround yourself with, I think one of the toughest things, and I talk about this with my work in confidence, which is no matter what, at some point in life, people are going to project a lack of confidence onto you about something. And sometimes it comes from the loved ones, right? You know, you tell someone you want to be a singer and the parent goes, well, you're no Celine Dion, or, you know, these kind of snarky remarks. And I wonder what advice you have for people that have family members. I mean, I think it was like Steve Harvey's quote. He said something like, stop sharing your $1 million dreams with $100 people. I think we keep running against this brick wall of assuming someone's going to change. But if your sister Mary keeps downering every idea you have, maybe it's time to stop talking to Mary about your dreams, right? So how would you suggest someone deal with that and keeping things close to the vest, yet this sort of desire that you want to share? We want approval. We want someone to be proud of us. We want the encouragement, but sometimes we have to go outside of our circle to find someone who can be that cheerleader.
Jericho Whittaker said something. She wrote a book about it. What people think of you and your dream and what you can do is none of your spiritual business. That's number one. And number two, live your life in a way that it's life service and not lip service. Talk is cheap. Be about it. Don't talk about it. You want to be so busy working on your dream, fine-tuning and tweaking, understanding and knowing that you're going to fail your way to success, that you're going to have challenges, you're going to have setbacks and a lot of no's. Make no your vitamin. I got to saying, when life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. You've got comeback power and stay focused. Keep thine eye focused. When you get on an airplane, before they take off, they say, fasten your seatbelt, because we're going to experience some turbulence before we reach a comfortable altitude. When you have a goal and a dream that you're working on, all hell will break loose. Murphy's Law will show up. Well, who's Murphy? Don't worry. Murphy's waiting for you after the show. He'll show up at your house, say, get me some coffee and a newspaper. Murphy's Law said if anything can go wrong, it will, and at the worst possible moment. And that's part of life. Think it not strange that you'll face the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might. You will have tribulations. You're going to have some setbacks, and things are going to go well. And they have not come to stay. They have come to pass. Life is a roller coaster. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't go so well. And the main thing is to keep the main thing, living your dream, being a servant. The greatest among you will be your servant, making an impact, living a life that will outlive you.
I love that. From the moment when you realized I want a better life way back in the day, and then now you're here, you are a writer. What are your thoughts about? Did you have a daily routine? Did you wake up every day and write your goals for a while? Do you have those moments where you're like, I'm setting aside this time to dream, to focus, what's your sort of routine or regimen or ritual with this kind of thought process? Or is it at this point so natural?
I wake up in the morning, I have a ritual, and I write down 7 things that I'm grateful for. And then I write an affirmation. Lord, whatever I face today, together, you and I can handle it. And then I write down the things that I enjoy doing and a list of the people that I would enjoy doing them with. And I work to make that happen in my life as much as I can every day. I remember when I was in Las Vegas, and at that time I was married to Gladys Knight, who wrote the song, who sang the song, Midnight Train to Georgia. And we were seated next to Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra said to a young man, live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. And to me, when you are consciously conscious, you are recognizing that the things that we have, that life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God, and express gratitude every day. When you write down the things that you want to get out of the day, rather than just going through the day, and focus on those things, and keep thine eyes single, and the whole body will be full of life. And when you develop a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, where you check in with each other and you're being there for each other, and you're helping each other, and they help you. And when you get stuck, and we all have moments in the Garden of Gethsemane where we need some encouragement ourselves, I say, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And ask for help, and don't stop until you get it. By doing that, having the ritual, working on your mind, reading positive stuff, and surrounding yourself with relationships, what I call the bread and butter relationships, people that will be there for you. If your car breaks down, you call them at 2:00 in the morning and say, hey, my car broke down. A bread and butter relationship will ask, where are you? A person that's not a bread and butter person will ask, what time is it?
That's true. We all need those. We all need those friends. Those are great people to have in your life. You mentioned it earlier a little bit. You touched on it. Can you share the story of finding the discoveries you made about your biological family?
Oh, yeah. My oldest son, he did one of these search companies and discovered the lady who was talking with him to find the connection, she asked, what's your father's last name? He said, Leslie Brown. And she asked, what's his original last name? He's adopted. And he said, Leslie Randolph. She said, wow, that's my last name too. And started talking, come to find out, she was the niece of my birth father. And her mother, Dorothy, was named after my birth mother, Dorothy Rucker, who was a motivational speaker and shared the stage with Mary McLeod Bethune and Eleanor Roosevelt. And my grandmother, Beulah Rucker Randolph, they have a museum named after her in Gainesville, Georgia. She was a motivational speaker too.
I love it when those things are discovered, these wonderful sort of ancestral, sort of otherworldly sort of connections. And you had sent me this wonderful video of this where you saw this. I mean, what an incredible connection. And didn't you met them, right?
Yes, I'm two brothers that I did not know. And I'm still processing this. I'm still looking at this and asking God, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm still thinking about, at this stage of my life at 77, what am I supposed to do? What new challenge am I to take on? I know T.D. Jakes said there's no success without successor. So I'm pouring myself into teaching people how to tell their story and how to create an experience with an audience and transform them individually and collectively. And then to amplify the voices of love and hope and unity and bringing people together in this time of divisiveness and help people to begin to understand this is a place where we should turn to each other rather than on each other, and help create a different kind of culture with the voices of hope and inspiration and unity that I'm able to create. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing there's so little of. Remember that song?
I do. That is, was anyone else in the family, did they follow in the footsteps too and were speakers or of that type of profession, or were you sort of the only one out of the group later on when you discovered this?
That's so fascinating. My two brothers said, you never saw our mother and you are just like her. And we're nothing like her. We are nothing like her. We all have it, but very few people would put in the time, the energy, and the effort to develop it. That's why the scripture reads, the road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it. That's why I'm focused on working with the few that are serious, the few that are disciplined. Socrates said an undisciplined life is an insane life. The few that have a reason for doing it. Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow.
Yeah, on the Socrates note, right? The unexamined life is not worth living either, which is what you're attesting to. You have to examine, you have to go within, you have to take the time to learn, relearn, and unlearn. Were your siblings that you recently discovered, did they know, were they ever told or heard anything about the fact that they had, a sibling that was put up for adoption at one point? Was this something unknown to them?
No, she couldn't tell. She was married at the time when she became pregnant. So that was a secret. They couldn't be aware of that. We were a secret. So when I called my brother, George, I said, hey, we did a genetic search and Dorothy Bell Rucker is my mother. And he said, just off the top, he said, well, she's my mother too. And if she is your mother, then we are brothers. I like to meet you. That's how the opening was created. Isn't that something?
It's amazing. How was that experience and what were your brothers like?
We are still learning each other. They were very humble and very proud of what I've done. And they said that I remind them constantly through my style of speaking. I saw one video of our mother speaking, and they are fascinated with what I've done with my life. And
Did they know who you were, like in the ether? I mean, you were so well known. Did they know about you?
they knew about me, but they didn't know that we were brothers.
Right.
One cousin, first cousin, worked at the public television, PBS, and was a co-host when I was there to raise funds for public television. He did not know that I was his first cousin, until later.
That's amazing. That must have been amazing for them, sort of knowing who you were, I'm sure admiring your work from afar and being sort of, loosely proud of you. And then to find out that you're actually related, that must be amazing.
Fascinating to them and to me. I'm still twirling.
Yeah, because this is very new, right? This was in the past couple of years or so that this was.
No, it hasn't been a year. Past few months.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's mind-blowing. We learned some things too through these genetic tests on my side of the family. And I just know that for my mother, who the father on the birth certificate turned out not to be, did some investigation. She found out she has, like 4 half siblings and all this kind of stuff. And I know what it meant to her. And she still talks about it because there were questions, right? And as I'm sure you had, and she's your age, and she was just so warmed in the heart by this experience of learning and actually finally seeing a photo of her real father and just what that means, that kind of connection. It's important. I don't know, some people may not care. I've always been interested in that, interested in my ancestry, interested in who are these people, where I come from. And what a gift.
Yes, it most certainly has been a gift. But even if I had not gotten that, my mother, Mamie Brown, Dorothy Bell Rucker gave me life. Mamie Brown, my adopted mother, taught me how to live life. Even if I had not found out, there was no gap in my heart.
What are some of the things that you remember about your mother's teaching, encouraging? Again, that the sort of, we can just tell through your voice, the love you have for her. What are some of those things? My mother always used to say, and this makes a lot of sense with my work in confidence and speaking up. She always used to say, I guess her grandmother said it to her. She said, take your mouth with you, meaning speak up. And I'll always remember that. And of course, you go through your life and you remember these sort of things and ways of being that your parents sort of impart on you. What are some ones that come to mind with your mother?
First of all, I'm writing that down. Take your mouth with you.
That's right.
I love that.
I know, it's good.
Down. Yes, that's powerful. What I learned from my mother, the power of sacrifice. She never had any children. And at 46, she decided, I want to raise some children. And she did that. She took us in as foster kids, and eventually she adopted us. And so I have so many spiritual sons and daughters out here and people that I work with. And I've touched some people's lives that perhaps I'll never meet. But I know that there are people who hear me. They hear me in their heart. There's some people that what I say and what I believe doesn't resonate with me. And what I say to speakers, you won't get everybody, but you want to speak so that you are not just heard, but you want people to feel you. You want, when they leave your presence, they feel better about themselves, but talking about you took them to a place in themselves that they couldn't go by themselves.
Amazing. You, there's no shortage of Wow, you've produced so much in your life. Now at 77, what are some of your dreams and goals? If you can share coming up, do you have, I mean, I know you're always speaking, you have an event in Fort Lauderdale in November, and we'll put everything to connect with you in the show notes. You've even got, do you still have the course on speaking as well?
Yes, they can go to lesbrown.com and sign up for So You Want to Speak. It's an online speaking course. And people who want one-on-one coaching, they can reach out to me, lesbrown77@gmail.com. lesbrown77@gmail.com. 7 is my lucky number.
Same here. And by the way, that is also on the end of some of my email addresses too, because 7 is my favorite number in the world.
Boy, that's why we connect. So, oh boy, we just resonate together. Something that I strongly believe. Steve Jobs said the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world, because storytellers create cultures. We've seen a new culture that's taken place in this country in the last 8 years. And so my goal is to train speakers how to tell their story and create an experience. Most speakers go around and for years, they operated out of 2 principles. One, the Dale Carnegie course, which is a great course. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. I teach my speakers, never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. Find out who they are and what they're up against. The other thing is, I teach speakers how to speak from the heart. That's very important. How to distract, dispute, and inspire. Don't just give information, as many of the speakers do, from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. When you provide information only impact 2 areas of the brain. But when you tell a story from your heart, we are emotional people, and a heart-centered story impacts 5 areas of the brain. You create an experience of the person and give them a larger vision of themselves beyond their circumstances, things they've experienced in their culture, and allow them to step away from their history and step into their imagination. Einstein said the imagination is the preview of what's to come. And so my goal is to step up and train the few, the serious ones, the ones that are hungry to speak and want to make an impact, so that we can push humanity forward and create a new generation of speakers who are not speaking just to make money and get airplanes and all the trinkets, but want to impact humanity, to live a life that will outlive them.
I want to highlight that point because of all of the interviews I've done, if I'm speaking, it doesn't matter what I'm speaking about, but if it's, health stuff, I've been so far away from being sick, but wrote a book about it. And so what I notice is that sometimes, I can be self-critical in a positive way. I'll notice that when I am just sort of dispensing the information about the topic of thyroid and health and all of that, it's not as potent as when I dip back into explaining how I felt in the moment when I was suffering. That's when I get emails from people saying, I cried listening to you because you were speaking from my brain how I'm feeling now, right? That's how we connect. And I think one of my issues with, I've read a million self-help books, and I've gained so much from all of them. What I try to impart on people is you have to we need specific examples. To talk ethereally and elusively about concepts or positive thinking is so baseline. To get in there and give specific examples, and this is why, going back to, you mentioned Socrates, I have a degree in philosophy, and one of the tough things about it at the time was, you can read Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, all this stuff, and you can gain some sort of practical tips in life. But for the most part, doesn't seem very practical or user-friendly, right? It's like, please tell me how to apply this in my life. Give me an example that I can go, oh, you know what? That happened to me, right? That's where people really resonate with your message, whoever you are out there speaking to people. So I love that is such a focus, that true heart speaking, that storytelling. It's personal, and that's what people connect with, because we've all been through something similar and relatable.
Yes, and the main thing is when you tell the story, you distract, dispute, and inspire. You distract people from their story, and through the presentation strategically of how you tell your story, you dismantle their current belief system of limitation and being stuck, and you inspire the want to, and that's major. The want to is a saying, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. But if you know how to strategically use your message, your story, where a person wants to make a new decision about their lives, want to leave the place where they are, want to come to that place within themselves where they say, I've had it. I'm not going to live like this anymore. This is not me. To create the want to, that's what's major. And most people don't know how to go there because someone, Mike Williams, who wrote the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff, he taught me how to do it. And now I'm training others how to do it.
You are so inspiring. And also, too, I know you've been told this, and I know you've been on TV and radio before, but your voice just in and of itself, I feel like I wish I could just, like just turn on an audiobook and listen to you talk to me to sleep. It's so soothing. It's so powerful. It's so deep. I'm sure you've been told this a bunch of times, but it is just so enjoyable listening to you. And I know that everyone is feeling that way, hearing you speak.
I was going to tell you that. I mean, your voice is motivating me. You motivate the motivator.
Hey, I'll take it. I love it. What else in these closing minutes here, anything that you'd like to impart on our audience about this? I mean, I agree. Perseverance pays. You are the example of perseverance. Any other sort of things that you might think about to impart on people if they're down and out? Because you're right, this is the time in life where people are, especially after the pandemic, really reevaluating what's important to them, what they want in life. They're starting to go, hold on a minute, I don't like this. I've got friends that are much younger than me in the corporate world, and they're going, is this all there is? So if there's any last words of wisdom that you can impart, love to hear it.
When the play Lion King, there's a line, Simba, you're more than that which you have become. And so those who are listening, you're more than that which you have become. You are stronger and bigger than the adversities, the abuse, and the things that you've experienced. In this place where you are, it's not your destiny. Life is calling you higher, higher, higher. This moment that you're listening to us, said coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. This is a God moment. You're more than that which you've become. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Live your life. Want to lead your life, a life of no regrets.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us and being generous with your time. And we will put everything in the show notes to connect with you and your website and everything else on social media and the interwebs. Again, a pleasure. And thank you for inspiring me as well over all these years. Again, you are one of many speakers and writers who have influenced me and who have helped me through tough times. So yeah, kind of tearing up a little bit here, but that is just it. If someone 10 years ago or, 15 years ago had said, you're going to be talking to Les Brown at some point, I would have said, okay, that's kind of crazy talk. So it's just wonderful. And it also is sort of proof that you can achieve some of your dreams. Being able to speak to people that have influenced me is also a dream of mine. So thank you for making that come true today.
Well, thank you. And I love your voice. Can you sing?
You know what? Terrible singer, like the worst. I kind of wish I could. I guess I could sort of jump into it. I don't have a desire to, but I'm the kind of person when they're singing the national anthem, I'm mouthing it because I don't want anyone else to hear it.
I want to learn how to sing. I want to sing. My favorite song is Love Me Tender by Elvis. And so I'm going to love me tender, love me true. All my dreams fulfill. Oh, see, you can't handle the voice. That's another ticket. Bye for now.
Love it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much. God bless you.
You too.
Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.